Morning. That is the meeting in Washington where Prime Minister Mark Carney will meet face-to-face for the first time U.S. President Donald Trump. CTV senior political correspondent Michael Couture is in Washington this morning with the very latest. I understand very early this morning they released the schedule of what's going to be happening today. What should we be watching for this morning, Mike?
Yeah, I think it'll be that sort of critical moment in the Oval Office. We know that Prime Minister Mark Carney will be there. We know what we have seen in the past from different world leaders in that moment, in that space. And certainly, having spoken to people inside the Prime Minister's office, they are game planning for a number of scenarios. And I think that's a direct reference to exactly what had happened with Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, when he was berated inside the Oval Office by both U.S. President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. That is obviously something that Mark Carney and his team are working hard to avoid. And really, I think what they're looking for here, Anne-Marie, is to try and reset the relationship and restart it, knowing where we have been, Canada and U.S., in the relations, and knowing how difficult that has been as well, and trying to make sure that they're setting this new tone going forward, making sure that U.S. President Donald Trump understands the mandate that Mark Carney has and what he wants to do with it, and try and make sure that they're also managing expectations. We had heard on Friday that Carney had said, don't expect any white smoke coming out of this, a clear reference to the papal conclave and the announcement of a new pope. So in other words, don't expect that all of the tariffs will be gone after today. Don't expect that we're going to have a renegotiated CUSMA, that North American Free Trade Agreement, but certainly expect that there will be a new tone and the start of a new relationship.
It's fascinating to think, though, where you start these conversations when you have Donald Trump, who's saying Canada has been leeching off of them for years, and Mark Carney, who has said our relationship that we used to have doesn't exist anymore. So interesting to know where those conversations even begin to happen. And I think what everybody's eager to see is the body language and the dynamics between these two leaders when they're face-to-face in the Oval Office.
Yeah, and especially when you consider, that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, or then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, has already been through this before. And I personally was there for one of those meetings, and you can see the dynamic and how Trudeau sort of sat there and let Donald Trump answer a lot of the questions, because a lot of them were domestic questions anyways. But I think it'll be different this time, and especially when you consider how Donald Trump sees Mark Carney. I mean, just in his social media posts, referring to him as Prime Minister, not as Governor, as he did to outgoing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. And, he talks about how, he has this type of experience. And Mark Carney, when he walks in the room, will carry himself with that type of experience as well. Former Bank of Canada Governor, former Bank of England Governor as well. He is used to these types of high-level meetings, and he knows the different types of people like Donald Trump and in the business world, and you have a feeling that he will try and really sort of lean on that and his experience in the business world and try to appeal to him in that way as well.
Last question, Mike. I know you said you were talking to people from Ottawa and from the PMO this morning, and they're preparing themselves for any possibility or any options that could come up in the White House. But then my understanding is, if this is correct, Mark Carney will be giving a separate press conference after that meeting at the White House?
Yeah, at the Canadian Embassy. That's for Canadian media, and that's where he'll answer all of his own questions there, because technically there is no press conference here, right, Anne-Marie? I mean, I know the Oval Office meeting has turned into a press conference in the past, with Donald Trump taking a whole wide range of questions, but Mark Carney himself will be meeting with the media at the Canadian Embassy near to the later end of the afternoon. And then that's when we'll get to ask him how he thinks it went. And that'll be after that lunch as well. So it's the Oval Office first, then it's the lunch, then it's the meeting with the media at about 3 o'clock Eastern time. And that's when we'll sort of be able to ask Prime Minister Carney how he thinks it went and exactly what the next steps will be in this relationship if this is step one.
Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick saying that he thinks it'll be a fascinating meeting, and I think that's the best and probably safest word that you can use to describe it. We'll listen for your questions later today. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Anne-Marie.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.